How about Dusty Rhodes? Did you get along with him as Booker and as a friend?
I did. In fact, I think I would say, and I would think Dusty would probably go on record and say that I was one of the few who he allowed to really get close to him. Um, I developed a great rapport with Dusty when we did the whole turn and we became the superpowers. We spent about a good year and a half on the road together, traveling up and down the road, just him and I, and riding in his red Mercedes. And in fact, one of the things I try to establish with people in the business is I would try to establish respect from them. A lot of the guys would, of course, it would create that created animosity, and that's a whole other story about that whole turn. But even though he was the booker, I was never one to kiss somebody's tail. I just kind of said what I said and how I felt, and even with Dusty, I can remember there were times when we'd schedule a time to meet together and head to a town, and this was never necessarily intentional, but maybe we're going to meet at 5:00, and 5:20 I'd roll in, and there'd be sitting in his red Mercedes, and most people would have been there 20 minutes to 5. Waiting on Dusty. And the real kicker to all of it is I'd let him drive. Most of the other guys would drive him to the town. And most of the time we took his Mercedes. I had a convertible Corvette. Occasionally I would take that. But I'd say he drove more than I did. So Dusty, when you watch this, nothing intentional there. It was just that good relationship we had with one another, that I knew I could do that. Because I had a special kind of a bond with Dusty. He used to say, Nikita, I've got this bond, baby. Yeah. Nikita, my man. Yeah. We got this bond. Superpowers, baby. Yeah. And we really did. We really had a bond. And I gelled well with him. And we did a lot of things, family things, personal things together outside of the wrestling business. And to this day, we keep in touch and contact with one another.
At the time, Dusty was booking some big shows. He came up, I guess, with the concept of the Great American Bash, him and Jim Crockett. Were you overwhelmed by that as far as going to these big stadium shows and thousands of people?
Yeah, I'd have to say it was. In fact, you got to remember the very first one, 1985, the big push was with myself and Ric Flair, and we had never even stepped in the ring. We really only did one small angle. We did a dungeon scene that was the build-up to that match. And 30-something thousand people in the Coliseum there in the outdoor stadium in Charlotte I'd have to say, was extremely flattering and overwhelming would be a good word. Main event, only 13 months into the business, standing in front of 30-something thousand people. And I played football in college and not any major crowds like that, but it was tremendously overwhelming.
What are your memories of that match?
I remember Flair flying in on that helicopter. I remember the people jumping in the ring, the drunks jumping in the ring, attacking me, which was, again, just kind of speaks of how well the character got over. They were that serious that they, came in. And in fact, it was kind of funny that, the cops, it's still on the video, I believe, on the 1985 Great American Bash video. The cops, at first, they thought it was just part of the deal. And they're watching this take place. Finally, they figured it out. So on the video, you see the cops roll in. They snatch them guys and get them off. And at first, it was strange because I'm thinking, somebody's got me in a waistlock. I'm thinking, well, Uncle Ivan's on the floor. Flair's laying down, selling. Certainly, this is not David Crockett, the referee. Who can this be? And then it finally dawned on me that it was the fans. And then the cops snatch him off, and then the match continued. I guess those are some of the memories. The fact that it was my very first match against Rick, and the master of the business that he is, and how well he brought me along in the business. That was just the starting point of what would become many, many great matches in the years to come.
I remember one of the great angles was, I think it was before the Flair match, was you and David Crockett. When David Crockett was, interviewing you and Ivan and Crusher, and he would constantly nag you. Basically, He said you guys cheated. What are your memories of that angle?
Of course, that tied in with him, why he was special referee for the heavyweight match. And the story there was, of course, David and Rick were good friends. So it was kind of a natural. And when they came to me and said, here's what we'd like to do, David didn't set well with a whole lot of people. And in fact, when that happened, I guess a lot of the boys in the dressing room really popped on it because nobody knew it was going to happen. And they said, man, was that a shoot? They thought I was really hot at him, I just, again, like everything I've ever done, I put 110% in. So when they saw the flats of his shoes and he was supine to the ceiling, they thought I'd broke his neck. Really, it really led to a tremendous part in building up to that 30-something thousand people in that stadium on that particular night.
Right. When we did our interview with Dusty Rhodes, we talked with Dusty about your matches with Magnum, and he said there was sort of a professional rivalry between you and Magnum. Was that a shoot, or is there a story behind it?
Well, it was just, I guess, the story is, the Russian Nightmare against the All-American Boy. And I didn't know Magnum real well when the angle started. And I kept pretty much to myself anyway in the business, as many would attest to. And so it was very much on just a professional level. A lot of guys, a lot of people ask, a lot of fans say, "Oh, you're all buddies," and this and the other. Well, some are, some aren't. And I didn't really buddy up with anybody. I didn't butt my nose into anybody's business. When I broke into the wrestling business and I made that decision to give it 110%, I also said I'm going to treat it like a business. It wasn't an ego thing for me. It wasn't like I was going to get on the phone and call my buddy and say, "Hey, watch me on TV. I'm going to be on WTBS, man, Channel 17. It wasn't about that for me at all. It was a business. I treated it as a business. And so every match I entered into, every angle I entered into, I took it fully as part of the business. And so with Magnum, it was on a very business level. In fact, I've done a number of radio call-in shows, and we'll take calls from the fans. And just recently, a fan was telling me, and one of the things I hear the most of are the Magnum series, the Best of 7 series with Magnum, and the realism of them. And man, you guys hit each other. You did, and it just became a natural. It was a natural angle. The people loved him. The people hated me. And so there was just a chemistry there between the two of us that just flowed. And because it did, it just got over just tremendously strong.
What are your memories of some of the matches with Magnum, as far as the Best of the 7?
I think the whole storyline, the going up 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and the people, how behind Magnum the people were, how much they loved him. And when he won that first round, because they weren't sure. It was so I had become such an overpowering force. They weren't sure he could even win a match when it became 3-0. And when he won that first one, man, the people just went ballistic, and there is hope, And so each match, as it built, I guess what I remember is the level of excitement in the buildings as we would come to the next match and we would build it on television, and just the electricity in the building.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.